Welcome to the very first episode of my Madden 06 franchise. Hope you all enjoy it. I don't have any wins, no losses, no ties, no wins, no games played, no passing yards, no nothing. I hope you all get to enjoy it. In today's episode, we're going to be selecting every team. That's right, you heard me right. Every team in Madden 06 in this episode, as well as show you the schedule. And if you notice, I don't have any music on right now. That's because I haven't played any games yet. So, here we go with this one. And like I said, this is going to be a brand new franchise. Now I'm going to show you the schedule. By the way, pause if you need to, if you want to know the upcoming matchup. And I think we're done here for this episode. Don't worry, episode number 2 will be the very first game I ever do, which will be the Chargers versus the Packers. We'll go ahead and save. And I hope y'all enjoy that episode. Episode number 2 will be coming up with the first game played will be the Chargers and the Packers, like I said. Followed by the Lions and the Jets, the Patriots and the Bengals, the Bears and the Rams, the Seahawks and the Saints, the Chiefs and the Vikings, the Tampa Bay against Tennessee, Baltimore against Atlanta, Miami against Jacksonville, Buffalo against the Colts, Giants versus the Browns, the Broncos versus the Texans, the Redskins against the Panthers, which, by the way, the Commanders is now, but we use Redskins here. Cowboys versus the Cardinals, Raiders versus the 49ers, Eagles versus the Steelers. That's it for week 1. Week 2, we'll have the Saints versus the Patriots, the Titans versus the Falcons, Vikings versus the Jets, The Bengals versus the Redskins, which one's against the Commanders, which we'll use Redskins in this version. Browns versus the Lions. Packers versus the Bills. Jacksonville versus Tampa Bay. Miami versus Steelers. Panthers versus the Giants. Bears versus the Colts. Raiders versus the Texans. Eagles versus the Ravens. Cardinals versus the Chiefs. 49ers versus the Broncos. Rams versus the Chargers. Cowboys versus the Seahawks. That's it for week 2. By the way, this is all preseason too. Jaguars are playing against the Falcons in week 3, which will be Falcons on the road. Cincinnati versus the Eagles. Steelers versus the Redskins. Ravens versus the Saints. Panthers versus the Browns. Battle of New York between the Jets and Giants. Bills versus the Bears. Patriots versus the Packers. Chargers versus the Vikings. Cardinals versus the Raiders. Titans versus the 49ers. Tampa Bay versus Miami. Colts versus the Broncos. Texans versus the Cowboys. Seahawks versus the Chiefs. Rams versus the Lions. That's it for week 3. And to wrap up the preseason, we have the Falcons versus the Dolphins, the Jets versus the Eagles, the Texans versus the Tampa Bay, Green Bay versus Tennessee, Giants versus the Patriots, Redskins versus the Ravens, Browns versus the Bears, Jaguars against Dallas, Panthers versus the Steelers, which Steelers on the road, Saints versus the Raiders, 49ers versus the Chargers, Lions versus the Bills, Colts versus the Bengals, Chiefs versus the Rams, Vikings versus Seahawks, and Broncos at the Cardinals. But before we do week 1, we have to select the active team for this one. In this case, it would be the Packers. So we save. And that takes care of part 1. Stay tuned for episode number 2. And by the way, the first game of each 4 is ABC affiliate, which I pretend it is, which I thought would be kind of cool. Second game of 4 will be a CBS affiliate, which I think is kind of cool. Fox will be affiliate for the third of the 4 games, of every 4 games, and the fourth and final of the 4 will be NBC. And we're going to have a battle to see which station has the most stats. If there's a tie and the tie wins, tie of stats, then the next stat will break all ties. That seem fair for everybody? If y'all want to make predictions on who will win, be my guest. And by the way, if you see a score of 255 for either college football or pro football, ignore it, because I'll tell you the real score in the description. And I hope y'all enjoy this first video of our first gameplay here on this channel. And I hope y'all be safe out there, and we all love you as a friend. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.